Old Navy. I was an aviator. I was 24 years flew helicopter. Being an Old Navy guy, working back, seeing the Chris. My roommate at the academy was also fast at that guy. Well, glad to take a couple questions. We're going to kind of take, yes, sir.
I understand there's some adverse legislation that's coming out, or proposals coming out of the UN, which that it looks like the administration is going to support. What is it, and what do we do about it?
21, but we've already, on the House side, already passed an act that we will not fund anything coming out of the UN that would jeopardize our rights under the Constitution of the United States. That is a very slippery slope that this administration is starting to go towards in allowing the UN to infringe upon our personal rights under the Constitution. And the House, the U.S. House side, has already made a statement on that, saying we will not follow any treaty that would infringe upon the Constitution.
And what does that mean? Does that mean it will stop it, or does that mean it will curtail it, or?
It won't go anywhere.
It won't go anywhere?
It won't go anywhere.
As long as the Secretary of State doesn't sign it, it doesn't get put before the Congress. If it's not before the Congress, it can't get acted on.
It won't go anywhere.
DOA.
Okay, so she can sign it, but without approval of the Congress.
She doesn't want to at the moment because she realized that this is a political liability.
And we control power of the purse. So we would be able to fund anything to enforce anything that we try to do.
I thought she might do it after the election.
Hopefully there won't be much they can do except clean out the desk after.
Can you enlighten us a little bit on the current status of passenger?
I wish I could. Other than what the House has done, we have allowed the private counsel. Because we knew that the administration was not going to press through. So we've allowed to go to private counsel so we can bring them up. It's probably going to be after the election.
But that council did file charges in federal court for the District of Columbia. So
It's there.
It's there. It's a civil and a criminal case. Criminal case, it'll be at least a year because of the backlog. But the civil, as soon as the election's over, I'll bet we'll see some.
And
It is still a real issue.
oh yeah, no. It's still ice is on it. That is.
I don't know if anybody would like information about Gun Owners of America, we've got some stuff up here. Glad to let you have at it.
Yes, sir.
I just had a question upon this gentleman asked. I'd like to know who, I believe it's the State Department, had the authority to put together this Fast and Furious and ship 2,000 guns overseas. Why wouldn't they put GPS in the bullets? Why wouldn't they take the stocks off and put GPS? Why wouldn't they put the barrels in the ice and bend them? Who in the hell had the final word or the brain fart to say, yeah, that's a good idea? And do they have anything to do with laws concerning the right to carry? I surely hope not. And I surely hope they're all Walmart readers now. I really do.
To answer your question, that is yet to be because of all the blocking that holders I have a feeling, in my personal opinion, I don't know how an operation like this was not the President of the United States done.
It's scary to think people in the State Department have that kind of authority. Not the DEA, the CIA, the FBI, nobody else was involved with the State Department. And again, I repeat, I hope the hell they're Walmart readers.
Well, consider this. We don't know if the president knew, and we don't know what he knew when, but we know this, that he owns this scandal now because no heads have rolled, except until very, very recently. And even people that clearly have lied to Congress, like the Attorney General, nothing has happened to them. The president owns this every bit as much as Richard Nixon came to own Watergate, something of which I'm certain he had nothing to do with in its inception. And so very likely, the president's innocent of cooking this up. He owns it now.
Well, I have to ask myself the question, why wouldn't they bring in Remington, Winchester, Browning, Colt, Ruger, How can we modify these guns, put ratchets on the brake barrels and such, so you shoot them 5 times and the end of the barrel blows off?
The GPS batteries ran out. Some agents actually tried on their own, put GPSs in there, the batteries ran out.
I just hope it comes out that whoever signed the final order that this was a go.
There's been so much, that's why it's so tough to really nail down. There's been so much blocking, trying to get information out that it has been very difficult to nail anybody down to anything. That's why it has to become a permanent case.
These people that made that plan, if you will, I'm in hopes they have nothing to do with conceal and carry. You take away guns from people, criminals are out there buying them now on the street. And you take them away from us, and you look at that theater situation down there, that idiot got in there and shot all those people. If a postman, if a truck driver, if a mechanic, if a plumber would have had his side on, it would have been much, much less. Much less. I hope these arguments are brought up when it's brought out to light who originated it, who
That's
approved
what
it.
Gun Owners of America does on a regular basis.
I sure hope it's televised or something.
It's not gonna go away.
No.
It's not gonna go away. Yes, sir.
Hi, Chip. How are you?
Doing good, how are you?
Good. Question number 1.
Yes, sir.
Handicap,
Sir.
veteran,
Yes, sir.
permit to take a punt out of the vehicle, permit to do most anything. Now, I shoot a deer on state ground, management ground, and it runs out there 200 yards and falls down dead. I can't pull a deer without having another heart attack. But the state says, no, you can't take a four-wheeler and go out there and fetch it and bring it back because that's our ground. You know, a long time ago, back when you were real young, all right, people used to have common sense.
Amen.
And the common sense says, okay, it is your right to go and retrieve your animal.
Right.
Okay. Now, the state of Minnesota has several programs for handicapped, old, wore out, old timers.
You should hire yourself.
But when it comes down to making sense, you might just well talk to that wall over there because it doesn't make sense.
I kid around with people. I've got my old Navy Dixie cup that I had at the Naval Academy, bronze. My parents gave it to me on graduation. And I fool around everybody. I said I take off that plaque and it's next to the wall, and right above it says "Bang Head Here."
You got it.
I hear exactly what you're saying. There's a lot of regulations, and that's what we try to cut back. My streamlining amendment for mining, for example, there is so much duplicative regulation, and what we do, state, federal, it could be streamlining our permitting process for mining down, just common sense.
But,
I agree.
okay, that's typical government.
Yeah.
If you can't bullshit your way out of it, cover them up with paperwork. All right?
Let me suggest another avenue for redress. There's a number of sheriffs that have gotten elected around the country who say to the feds, if something's not in that Article 1, Section 8, and a couple other places in the Constitution, you don't have any authority. And if you try to hassle one of the folks in my county, I'll arrest you. And they have faced the feds down, and the feds have uniformly backed off. So one of the things we might consider doing is go to gunowners.org, which is our website. There's a book on the county sheriff written by former Sheriff Richard Mack. And he outlines the history and the constitutional arguments that the sheriff is the top cop in his county, he's the only elected police officer in the whole county, and he's the only one that has a direct delegation of authority for police power from the people. And so if things like this start getting out of hand, and you had a sheriff who understands what his job is, you call the sheriff and say, I got a runaway deer, I'm about ready to go get it, do you have my back?
That sounds fine and wonderful, but when it comes right down to it, DNR, when it comes right down to it, DNR can stand right here and tell Mr. Sheriff what to do,
Oh, no.
when to do.
No, he can put them in jail if they insist on.
You're sure?
Oh, absolutely. They're over the FBI, they're over the state trooper, they're over everybody.
Okay, then who is it, give me a name, give me somebody I can put eyeballs on, that I can take and call or whatever and say,
If I can give-
I'm tired of not having the ability to go get it.
In a situation that you just explained is a state issue,
Mm-hmm.
so I would contact your local state rep and explain it to them.
Okay,
And ask your sheriff if he's prepared to have your back.
Because it's truly a state issue, but on that particular instance.
I wish you well, my friend.
Thanks,
I will vote for you,
appreciate that.
and you let me down, and I'll take you hunting.
You already said, I hope you're.
He's gonna say, you want to get the deer.
You already said, I said, I hope you're a better shot than Dick Cheney.
I gotta get.
Scott, did you have a question?
No, I was gonna answer that that is a state legislative issue
Nate?
that needs to.
Yes, sir.
Who's your state rep here and state senator? Is that Cravaack? No.
Senator is currently
You wanna send the Republicans to the state house?
Any other questions over here? Oh, I'm sorry.
I have a non-gun-related question.
Okay.
In the United States, there are rural marriages are not allowed. One man, another one. What do we do about the Muslim community?
I haven't heard anything.
Hey, could you repeat the question?
So,
Hey.
It's about the marriage law.
Oh,
Muslims coming into this country and invoking Sharia. Sharia.
and we gave you a ride to the war.
I have a son-in-law and he missed his first fight first, but they couldn't get the U.S. to produce it. My son-in-law talked about they had inability to replace it. Right? I was working for the Navy and the Air Force. I see a push to get a piece of it.
Here's what's going on, it's sequestration. The military's already started to plan sequestration. And what sequestration is going to do, I voted against the Budget Control Act mainly because of what's happening right now with the military. I had a 30-year Naval Academy meeting that I went to right before the vote. And a couple of my buddies now had stars on their shoulders. And I asked them, I said, what would happen if this sequestration actually occurs? And they said, it'll devastate us. Here's what it'll do. We will have the smallest ground forces since 1940. We will have the least amount of ships we've had since 1950, and the smallest air force in existence. That's what's going to happen to our military. And I can tell you that the threats to the United States haven't decreased over these last couple of years. They have increased. Look what's happening in the South China Sea with Japan and the disputed islands. The Chinese are flexing their military muscle. Okay? Look what's in the Middle East right now. I mean, it's just powder keg. Just waiting to see what kind of spark is. Now Turkey's involved, or Syria. It's getting bigger and bigger as we speak. This is not the time to be cutting our military. And I hear the same thing from my friends about not having the equipment that they need, not having other things they need to get underway. So,
What are we going to use the money?
well, the problem, my opponent likes to say these words of choice. Well, for one thing, I wasn't here during that vote. I'm not saying it was good or bad, but I wasn't here, but he's blinding me for it. The second thing is, we're pretty much out of Iraq, for the most part. Afghanistan, I've gone on record and said it's time to come home. If we're not going to fight it like a war, and our rules of engagement are so limited, that it's time it's time to come home. I don't want to see another soldier at the top of the steps of the Capitol that are missing their arms and their legs, shaking hands with members of Congress when they're coming in. I don't want to see that. I want to make sure if we do fight a war, we fight as a full war. As a piece dividend, truly overseas contingency funding is 2.7% of the president's budget. So it's really not that much. It is something, but it's not that much. I don't know if that's the placebo that you might be looking for. But right now, I'm more afraid of sequestration than anything. Looks like we got to get rolling here. Can we just take one more question and we'll take it? Yes, sir.
Can you touch briefly on what's happening in the mining industry in northeastern part of the state?
Well, we've been poor on mining. Polymet, great news with Polymet. Polymet just passed its osmosis, making sure we get that sulfite standard of 10 parts per million. They met it. So they've met all the requirements that they've needed. Now it's paperwork. So I'm pretty excited about that. Our taconite mining is under assault as well. Our friends at EPA, through the Minnesota Commerce, is saying that it's a tangential attacks. One is directly on taconite mining for the haze issue. Minnesota Pollution Control worked with the mines, worked it all out, had a schedule already put in. EPA comes in from the federal government, says that's not going to work for us, you got to complete it in 18 months.
Another job for your sheriff.
Yeah. So you got to complete this in 18 months. Can't be done. Some can be doing it, others can't. Those are jobs. That's a job issue. Tangentially, the EPA is coming in trying to shut down 2 electrical plants, Lasky Power Plant and also the Pack Harbor plant. There's a war on coal. I don't know if and this war is going to touch our miners as well, because it's touching the miners in West Virginia that are getting laid off. And the EPA is using water and air, just like they're doing right now, for our mines. And that's why these jobs are going under, for coal. There's a war on coal. Now the president has even come out and said there will be no new coal power plants, and if there are, there'll be so many regulations in essence that it's going to bankrupt. The president has come out and said, under my energy policy, electrical rates, and this is his words, unnecessarily skyrocket. Well, guess who feeds our mines? Coal power plants. If those coal power plants go offline, the electrical cost for our taconite production is going to skyrocket, which will make our steel less competitive on the open market, and that's jobs. We're out of work. We've been fighting that from day one. This administration, the EPA in the last couple of years has increased its spending by 99%. Anybody gotten a 99% raise here? No. But the federal government keeps on getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the median family income has gotten smaller and smaller. It's now 4.1% less than it was a couple years ago. We're actually less than where we were in 2009 when the president said the recession is over. Well, sure can't tell the family median income has gotten any better. Unfortunately, we are on a tight schedule. I thank you very much for coming here today.
Oh, go for it.
We will. Thanks, guys. Thank you, guys. Hey, how you doing?
Chip, we'll go down.
Oh, yeah.
Good to see you.
How's your dad doing?
He's doing okay.
Good. So we got to come out.
Yeah, I want to definitely.
Absolutely.
Well, Sheldon, you guys are on your own. I'll be a big fun.